She walked into the hospital expecting a meeting. Instead, she was given a chair, silence, and hours of waiting. What the billionaire CEO did not know was that the quiet nurse he ignored held the truth that could change his career forever. Before we go further, please ensure to like, share and subscribe so you can continue viewing stories like this. The hospital wakes before the city does. Outside, the sky is still undecided, a pale mix of blue and gray, while inside the building everything is already alive with quiet purpose. Glass doors slide open without a sound, revealing polished marble floors that mirror the ceiling lights. Every surface gleams. Every step echoes just enough to remind visitors where they are. This is not an ordinary hospital. This is a place built to impress, to command respect, to separate those who belong from those who do not. A young nurse steps inside. She pauses for half a second, just long enough to steady her breathing. Her uniform is crisp, freshly pressed, the kind worn with intention. Her posture is straight, shoulders back, chin level. In her hands is a thin folder, held carefully, almost protectively. Inside are her credentials, letters of recommendation, transfer approvals, proof that she deserves to be here. This morning matters. She moves forward, her shoes clicking softly against the marble, each sound swallowed quickly by the vastness of the lobby. The air smells faintly of disinfectant and polished stone. A security guard nods at her. She returns the gesture, polite, professional. She has done this before. New hospitals, new beginnings, new expectations. Still, something about today feels heavier. She was told the CEO wanted to see her personally. That detail replays in her mind as she approaches the elevator bank. CEOs do not usually request meetings with new nurses. They have departments for that. Committees. Assistants. Layers of separation. Yet her name had reached the top, and now she is here, earlier than necessary, just to be safe. The elevator ascends smoothly, floor numbers lighting up one by one. The higher it goes, the quieter it becomes. By the time the doors open on the executive floor, the noise of the hospital has vanished completely. This floor feels different. The carpet is thicker, footsteps muted. The walls display abstract art and framed awards, silent reminders of success and authority. The lighting is softer, warmer, almost too calm. It is the kind of calm that makes people lower their voices instinctively. She approaches the reception desk. The assistant looks up, perfectly composed, her smile practiced but pleasant. The nurse introduces herself, keeping her voice steady. She explains she has an appointment, mentions the CEO's name. The assistant checks the screen, nods, and gestures toward the seating area. Please, have a seat. He will be with you shortly. The nurse thanks her and walks to the chair indicated. She sits carefully, placing the folder neatly on her lap. Her hands fold over it, fingers interlaced. She straightens her badge, making sure it faces forward, readable. Small details matter. She knows this. Appearances matter here. She exhales slowly. Around her, the executive floor remains still. Doors closed. Phone silent. No hurried footsteps, no alarms, no raised voices. It feels removed from the rest of the hospital, from patients and urgency and pain. Up here, decisions are made far away from consequences. She glances around, taking it all in without staring. The furniture is expensive but understated. The chairs are comfortable without being inviting. This is a place designed to remind visitors they are guests, not equals. Her heartbeat settles into a steady rhythm, though it still thumps a little harder than usual. She reminds herself why she is here. She earned this position. She followed every rule. She did the work when it mattered most. Whatever this meeting is about, she will handle it the same way she handles everything else, with professionalism and restraint. She does not check her phone. She does not fidget. She waits. In that stillness, the moment takes shape. A new beginning balanced on quiet anticipation. Hope sits beside uncertainty, neither overpowering the other. The nurse believes this meeting means something. She believes being called here is a sign of recognition, perhaps even respect. She has no reason yet to think otherwise. So she remains seated, calm and composed, trusting the process, unaware that this simple act of waiting will soon reveal far more than she expects. Time moves differently on the executive floor. At first, it drifts. A few quiet minutes slip by, unnoticed. The nurse sits upright, eyes forward, her folder resting neatly on her lap. She listens to the soft hum of the building, the distant whir of elevators moving somewhere beyond the walls. Everything feels controlled, deliberate. Then time begins to stretch. She glances at the clock mounted discreetly above the reception desk. Only once. The movement is subtle, almost instinctive. She registers the hour and looks away, deciding not to give it more attention. Watching time too closely only makes it heavier. People begin to pass. Men and women in tailored suits walk through the corridor with practiced confidence. Some speak quietly into phones, their voices low but assured. Others laugh softly, the kind of laughter that comes from comfort and familiarity with power. Assistants move briskly, tablets in hand, eyes focused ahead. No one rushes. No one lingers. No one stops. A few glance at the nurse as they pass. Their eyes flick briefly to her badge, then away. The message is subtle but clear. She does not belong to this level, at least not in their minds. She is background. Furniture. Someone waiting. She remains still. Inside the CEO's office, voices drift through the door. The tone is relaxed, confident, unhurried. Words are punctuated by light laughter. Whoever is inside has no awareness of time slipping by outside that door, or perhaps no concern for it. The nurse listens without meaning to. Not to the words themselves, but to the ease behind them. This is not a man under pressure. This is a man in control. Minutes turn into an hour. Her back remains straight, though a quiet tension settles into her shoulders. She shifts slightly, adjusting her posture without drawing attention. Her grip on the folder tightens for a moment, then relaxes. She breathes slowly, evenly, the way she learned during long shifts and difficult moments. Control the breath, steady the mind. The assistant stands from her desk and walks toward the office. She knocks softly and steps inside. The door closes, muting the hallway again. The nurse waits. From her seat, she can see the assistant reappear a short while later. The expression on the assistant's face has changed, just slightly. Her smile is gone. She does not look toward the nurse. She returns to her desk and sits down without a word. Inside the office, the conversation continues. The assistant had reminded the CEO that someone was waiting. A new nurse. An appointment. He barely looked up. His attention stayed on whatever occupied his screen, his hand lifting in a casual wave. She can wait. That was all. The decision was effortless. Another stretch of time passes. The nurse does not sigh. She does not tap her foot or shift impatiently in her seat. She does not pull out her phone or ask for an update. She simply waits, as instructed. Her expression remains neutral, professional, controlled. But the imbalance is growing. Every person who walks past her carries urgency, importance, direction. They move because their time matters. Meetings await them. Decisions depend on them. Their presence demands recognition. She sits because she has been told to. The contrast sharpens with each passing minute. One side of the hallway moves freely. The other remains fixed, silent, expected to adapt. Her time is considered flexible. Disposable. Something to be filled or wasted without consequence. Still, she does not protest. She adjusts her badge again, straightening it with care. It is a small gesture, but intentional. A reminder to herself of who she is and why she is here. She did not come unprepared. She did not arrive late. She followed every instruction. If waiting is required, then waiting is what she will do. The clock continues its quiet work. Another executive passes, speaking into a phone about numbers and timelines. Another assistant walks by without looking at her. The nurse remains seated, calm on the surface, composed in every visible way. Yet beneath that stillness, something is forming. Not anger. Not frustration. Awareness. She is being measured, not by her skills or experience, but by how long she can be ignored. And somewhere inside the office, a man who believes he controls time has no idea what this silence is slowly revealing. By midday, the executive floor has changed its mood. The soft warmth from the morning lights feels dimmer now, replaced by a cooler stillness. The hallway remains quiet, but the silence carries weight. The nurse is still seated in the same chair, her posture controlled, her presence steady. Time has left its mark, not loudly, but persistently. The elevator arrives with a soft chime, but its presence changes everything. The doors slide open, and the executive floor feels suddenly smaller. Men and women step out with measured confidence, their movements unhurried yet decisive. Their clothing is tailored, their expressions focused. They do not look around to take in the space. They already own it. This is the board. They are not here to impress. They are here to observe. As they step forward, conversations in the hallway fade. Assistants pause. Even the air seems to adjust, as if the building itself recognizes authority when it enters. These are the individuals who shape policy, approve budgets, and decide who stays and who goes. Titles bend in their presence. They take only a few steps before something catches their attention. A nurse sits alone near the reception area. She is composed, seated upright, hands folded over a thin folder on her lap. She does not look lost. She does not look out of place. She looks like someone who belongs, yet has been forgotten. The chairwoman slows. Her eyes move from the nurse to the clock, then briefly to the assistant behind the desk. The combination does not make sense. A new nurse waiting on the executive floor at this hour, alone, unnoticed. This is not how things are supposed to work. The group stops. Without raising her voice, the chairwoman steps forward. Her presence is calm, but it carries weight. She addresses the nurse directly, not unkindly, not sharply, just clearly. Why are you still sitting here? The question is simple, but it lands heavily. The nurse looks up, meeting her gaze without hesitation. She stands slightly straighter in her chair, her expression respectful. There is no complaint in her tone when she answers. No edge. No frustration. I was asked to wait. That is all she says. The response hangs in the air. The board members exchange glances, quick but telling. These are people who understand systems, patterns, and implications. They know what efficiency looks like. They know what respect looks like. This is neither. The assistant shifts uncomfortably behind the desk, fingers tightening around a pen. She avoids the chairwoman's eyes. The hallway feels different now. What was once quiet becomes tense. What was once polished now feels exposed. The waiting, which seemed invisible minutes ago, is suddenly undeniable. The nurse remains seated, calm and still. She does not fill the silence. She does not explain further. She has already said everything that needs to be said. The chairwoman nods once, slowly. The pause that follows is brief, but loaded. It is the kind of pause that precedes consequence. The board members understand immediately that something is wrong, not just with a delayed meeting, but with how it was handled. Someone important was made to wait. Worse, someone deserving of respect was overlooked entirely. The power dynamic begins to tilt. A few of the board members glance toward the closed office door at the end of the hall. They can hear muted voices inside, relaxed, unaware. The contrast is striking. Comfort behind the door. Neglect in the hallway. The nurse's presence now feels symbolic. She is no longer just a person waiting. She represents a breakdown in values, a failure in leadership that is impossible to ignore. The chairwoman turns slightly, addressing the assistant with her eyes alone. No words are needed. The message is clear. This should not have happened. The nurse adjusts her grip on the folder, not out of nerves, but out of habit. She remains composed, her posture steady, her expression neutral. If she feels the shift in the room, she does not show it. Years of discipline have taught her how to remain grounded when attention suddenly turns her way. The air feels heavier now, charged with expectation. What was once a quiet hallway has become a stage. Every second stretches. Every detail matters. This is the moment the story pivots. What began as a simple wait is now a silent confrontation. Authority has entered the room, and it has noticed what was ignored. The nurse, still seated, still calm, is no longer invisible. And everyone present understands, without anyone needing to say it out loud, that nothing will continue as it was. This is where everything changes. She shifts slightly, easing the tension in her lower back. The movement is small, almost unnoticeable. Her hands tighten around the folder for a moment, the edges pressing into her palms. She loosens her grip and exhales slowly through her nose, counting the breath without realizing she is doing it. Inhale. Hold. Release. Ground yourself. Fatigue has begun to settle in. Not the kind that overwhelms, but the familiar kind she knows well. The kind that creeps in during long shifts, during hours spent standing beside hospital beds, during moments when sleep is postponed because someone else needs care. She has felt this tiredness before and learned how to carry it without letting it show. Her gaze drifts forward, unfocused now, resting on nothing in particular. Memories surface quietly. She remembers nights when the hospital corridors never slept, when alarms sounded without warning and decisions had to be made instantly. She remembers patients who clung to her hand for reassurance, families who needed calm more than answers. She remembers choosing honesty when silence would have been easier, doing what was right when doing nothing would have been safer. Those choices shaped her. They taught her that integrity is not loud. It does not announce itself or demand applause. It shows up in uncomfortable moments, in long hours, in situations where recognition is unlikely. That is why she chose this profession. Not for titles or praise, but for responsibility. For the quiet understanding that someone had to stand firm when it mattered. She straightened slightly in her chair, as if aligning herself with those memories. Around her, the executive floor continues its rhythm. Footsteps pass at intervals. Doors open and close softly. Conversations remain hushed, controlled. The world up here moves without urgency, insulated from the chaos below. The assistant sits behind the desk, eyes fixed on the screen in front of her. She does not look toward the nurse anymore. When footsteps approach, the assistant looks up briefly, offers polite responses, then looks back down. The avoidance is subtle, but noticeable. Something feels off. The nurse senses it, not through words, but through absence. Still, nothing is said. No updates. No apologies. No explanations. The nurse remains where she is. Her shoulders relax slightly as she adjusts her posture again, careful not to appear restless. She smooths the front of her uniform, a habitual motion, grounding herself in routine. These small acts of control matter. They remind her that she is present by choice, not by force. The folder on her lap holds more than paper. It carries proof of her work, her decisions, her willingness to speak when silence would have protected her. She does not open it. She does not need to. What matters is already known, even if the people around her do not yet realize it. Time continues to pass. Hunger flickers briefly at the back of her mind, then fades. She has learned to set discomfort aside when duty calls. This is no different. Waiting is easier than many things she has endured. Waiting does not scare her. What unsettles her is the meaning behind it. She understands hierarchy. She respects structure. But respect, she believes, should not erase dignity. The longer she sits there, the clearer it becomes that this delay is not about scheduling. It is about priority. And she is not considered one. The thought does not anger her. It sharpens her awareness. She lifts her chin slightly, eyes steady, expression neutral. If she is being measured by patience, then patience is what she will offer. Not as submission, but as discipline. This moment is revealing something important, not about her, but about the place she has entered. She remains seated, calm on the surface, resolute beneath it. The fatigue lingers, but it does not bend her. It only reminds her of everything she has already endured and survived. Whatever comes next, she is ready. The shift happens quietly, but everyone feels it. The chairwoman turns fully toward the assistant, her voice calm, measured, impossible to dismiss. She does not raise it. She does not need to. Authority sits naturally in her tone. She has been waiting how long, she asks. The assistant hesitates. Her mouth opens, then closes. The answer sounds worse the longer it takes to form. She finally responds, softly, carefully, giving a number that lands like a dropped glass. The chairwoman nods once. Slowly. Then she looks back at the nurse. "This is the nurse we insisted on hiring," she says, now addressing the group as much as the assistant. "The one whose report exposed the malpractice issue last year. The one whose documentation prevented a lawsuit that would have cost this hospital millions." The hallway goes still. A few of the board members straighten, their expressions sharpening with recognition. This is not news to them. They remember the case clearly. The long meetings. The risk assessments. The narrow escape from public scandal. They remember the name attached to the report. And now that name is sitting quietly in a chair, ignored for hours. The assistant's face drains of color. At that exact moment, the office door opens. The CEO steps out with an easy smile, mid-conversation, confidence radiating from every movement. He adjusts his cuff, ready to greet the board, already forming the right words. Then he sees where their attention is focused. The smile fades. His eyes move from the board members to the nurse. The realization hits him all at once. Not slowly. Not gently. It hits hard. The chairwoman turns toward him. "She has been waiting," she says. "4 hours." The silence that follows is sharp and unforgiving. The CEO begins to speak, but the words come out tangled. He gestures vaguely toward his office, mentions meetings, calls, unexpected delays. Pressure. Responsibilities. He says everything except what matters. No one interrupts him. No one needs to. When he finishes, the chairwoman responds evenly. "How you treat people you believe are unimportant tells us more than any quarterly report." Her words are not emotional. They are precise. The CEO swallows. He nods too quickly. He tries again, this time turning toward the nurse, offering an apology that sounds rehearsed even as it is being created. He suggests rescheduling. He suggests coffee. He suggests fixes that arrive far too late. The nurse listens without expression. Then she stands. The movement is calm, deliberate. She gathers her folder, smoothing its edge as she rises. Her voice, when she speaks, is respectful and steady. "Thank you for your time," she says. "I understand things get busy." There is no accusation in her words. No bitterness. Just closure. She turns slightly, preparing to leave. For a brief moment, it seems that is how it will end. The person with the least power exiting quietly, dignity intact, while those above her remain behind. Then the chairwoman steps forward. "Wait," she says, gently this time. The nurse stops. The chairwoman's tone softens, though her authority remains unchanged. "You are not leaving," she says. "You are coming with us." The nurse hesitates, just for a second. Surprise flickers across her face before she reins it in. She nods. Together, the board members turn toward the office. The CEO steps back instinctively, clearing the doorway. The confidence he carried earlier is gone, replaced by something smaller, more fragile. He watches as the group enters his space, the nurse among them. The door closes behind them. Inside, the room feels different now. The power has shifted, not dramatically, but decisively. The CEO takes his seat, slower than before. The board members remain standing for a moment, surveying the space, the screens, the symbols of control that no longer feel absolute. The chairwoman gestures for the nurse to sit. "This meeting was supposed to happen hours ago," she says. "Let us begin." What follows is not loud. There are no raised voices, no dramatic accusations. The board asks questions. The nurse answers them clearly, confidently, without embellishment. She explains her findings, her process, the reasons she documented what others ignored. Her voice never shakes. As she speaks, the CEO listens in silence. Each word reinforces what he failed to see. Not just her importance, but her integrity. The room grows heavier with each minute, not from tension, but from truth settling into place. When the nurse finishes, the chairwoman nods again. "Thank you," she says. "That will be all for now." The nurse stands. This time, she is not dismissed. She is acknowledged. She gathers her folder and leaves the office with a quiet sense of completion. The door closes once more. What happens after is not shared with the audience. It does not need to be. The looks exchanged among the board members are enough. Decisions are made in silence as often as they are made aloud. Outside, the executive floor returns to its quiet state, but it is no longer the same. Something has been exposed. Something cannot be unseen. The CEO remains seated, staring at a space where control once felt permanent. He understands now, too late, that time is not owned. Respect is not optional. And power, when misused, has a way of reversing without warning. Down the hall, the nurse walks away at an unhurried pace. Her posture remains steady. Her expression remains composed. She did not raise her voice. She did not demand recognition. She simply waited. And in doing so, she revealed everything. If you enjoyed this story, ensure to like, share and subscribe for more amazing, heartfelt stories like this. Also let us know where you are watching from, and drop your thoughts in the comments. What did you think about Nurse, her patience, and quiet strength? How about CEO Richard Hale, whose moment of power revealed more than he expected, and Chairwoman Evelyn Brooks, who stood firmly for integrity and respect? Your support helps us keep telling stories that inspire reflection, empathy, and accountability. Stay connected, stay inspired, and do not forget, sometimes the smallest moments reveal the biggest truths.